Listen closely. Can you hear it? The black waters of the Nile murmuring against the reeds under the weight of a midnight sky. Come closer to the fire. Let the shadows dance upon your face. We do not speak of mere myths tonight. We speak of the blood and breath of the cosmos itself. Long before the first stone of the pyramids was ever cut, before the pharaohs wore their golden crowns, the desert whispered the names of entities so immense that merely thinking of them could shatter a mortal mind. These are the 10 most formidable forces to ever govern the sands and the stars. We journey from the blinding storms of raw chaos to the unseen, absolute pinnacle of creation. This is the realm of the immortals, where the dust remembers everything. Subscribe to the shadows, leave your offering at the altar of the like button, and take your rightful place among the legends. Starting our descent into the divine at number 10, the Red Lord of the Desert, Set, the bringer of storms, the necessary evil. You might ask, how can the great betrayer, the god who slaughtered his own brother, be considered the ultimate defender of the universe? Set is the embodiment of the unforgiving desert, the boiling red sands that consume travelers, and the howling tempest that tears the roofs from our homes. He is the patron of the foreign, the wild, and the violent. To the ancient mind, harmony, ma'at, was a fragile glass that could only be understood if something threatened to break it. Set was that heavy, iron hammer. Yet, to simply call him a villain is to misunderstand the very nature of the Egyptian cosmos. When the heat of the summer grows unbearable and the air turns thick and stagnant, it is the violent fury of a thunderstorm, Set's storm, that shatters the suffocating grip and purifies the earth. The Ramesside pharaohs did not shun him. They painted his red beast upon their shields. Before stepping into the slaughter of war, soldiers would breathe his name into the hot wind, begging for a fraction of his relentless, unyielding savagery. They knew that sometimes, to survive a monster, you must invite a monster into your own heart. But his true purpose, the reason he holds the cosmos together, is revealed only in the suffocating darkness of the underworld. Every night, the sun god's golden barge is attacked by the ultimate horror of the void. And while the other gods avert their eyes in blinding terror, it is Set, standing at the prow of the ship, bathed in shadow, who stares directly into the abyss without blinking. Armed with a spear forged from meteoritic iron and roaring with a voice that cracks the sky, Set violently repels the void. The murderer of men is the savior of the sun. He is the terrifying reminder that without the capacity for ultimate violence, the light would be entirely consumed. Emerging from the desert winds at number 9, we meet the Lord of the Threshold, Anubis, the guardian of the forgotten, the ultimate architect of eternal life. When you stand at the edge of the western mountains as the sun bleeds into the horizon, and you hear the high, bone-chilling howl of a jackal, modern instinct tells you to run. But to the ancient dwellers of the Nile, that sound was a lullaby. Anubis is not the grim reaper of Western nightmares, holding a scythe to cut you down in your prime. He is the compassionate sentry waiting for you when the breath leaves your lungs. He is the masterful scientist of the soul, the inventor of mummification, who tenderly bound the broken pieces of Osiris, turning the rotting flesh of a corpse into a vessel fit for the stars. Imagine the sacred embalming tents. The air is heavy, thick with the intoxicating sharp scent of myrrh, cedar oil, and dry natron salt. Here, Anubis, working through his masked priests, performs the ultimate alchemy. In our modern age, we paint death in the bleakest black to represent mourning and an empty, hollow end. But look closely at the jackal god's fur. That pitch-black tone is the exact color of the fertile, wet mud left behind by the flooding Nile. To be painted black by Anubis was not to be erased, it was to be planted. It was the absolute promise that from the dark earth of the tomb, the seed of your spirit would violently bloom into a new dawn. When your naked soul steps into the hall of the two truths, terrified and trembling, it is Anubis who stands beside you. With millimetric, agonizing precision, his steady hands place your heart upon the great golden scales. If the demons of the Duat lunge for you in the shadows, it is his towering black silhouette that shields you. He does not judge you with malice. He is the quiet, unbreakable bridge between the chaos of a mortal life and the silent perfection of eternity. Slithering into the number 8 position is the terror that predates time itself, Apep, the serpent of the absolute void, the anti-creator. Do not call him a god. To call him a god is to give him a shape, a purpose, a place in the divine order. Apep is the chilling embodiment of Isfet, uncreation, the static, freezing emptiness that existed before the first spark of life and tirelessly schemes to drag everything back into nothingness. Apep does not want to rule the universe. He wants to swallow it, digest it, and leave only silence. He is the shadow that has no source. The ancients did not read about Apep in dusty scrolls. They felt his wrath in their bones. When the ground violently shook beneath their feet, shattering monuments and crushing homes, it was not tectonic plates shifting. It was the colossal coils of the great serpent thrashing in agony as he was stabbed in the underworld. And when the sky turned black at midday, the horrifying spectacle of a solar eclipse, the panic was total. It was the visual proof that Apep had unhinged his massive jaws and swallowed the sun. In these moments of terrifying darkness, priests and commoners alike would rush to the temple courtyards. They would hurl wax effigies of the snake into roaring fires, beating drums and screaming curses into the sky, desperate to lend their own life force to the gods battling above. Apep is the heavy, suffocating dread that sits in the back of the human mind. He is the creeping realization that the house of civilization is built on the edge of a crumbling cliff. His nightly war against the forces of light is not a metaphorical struggle. It is a desperate physical fight for the survival of reality. Apep teaches us that peace is not the natural state of the universe. Existence is a bloody daily conquest, and the moment we lower our guard, the serpent will consume the light forever. Lurking beneath the dark waters at number 7, we encounter the apex predator of the Nile, Sobek, the primal force of the wild where water brings both life and sudden death. Look upon the reeds at the river's edge. The water is perfectly still, resembling a mirror of green glass. Then a sudden violent explosion of water, a snap of jaws, and a life is dragged screaming into the muddy depths. This is Sobek. Depicted as a massive man with the scarred, armored head of a Nile crocodile, he is the raw, visceral heartbeat of nature's brutality. Yet, the prosperity of the greatest empire on earth depended entirely on this cold-blooded killer. It was written that the great life-giving river itself poured forth as sweat from Sobek's scaly brow. Sobek was adored as much as he was feared. In the dim, incense-choked halls of temples like Kom Ombo, massive living crocodiles were treated as royalty. Adorned with heavy gold rings pierced through their ears and fed the most succulent cuts of roasted meat by trembling priests, these beasts were the physical link to the divine. Sobek was a healer, a protector who used his terrifying strength to guard the innocent. When Osiris was torn apart, it was the swift, gliding power of Sobek that plunged into the dark waters to retrieve the lost pieces of the king. But there is a darker, more secret facet to his worship. In the hidden corners of warrior cults, a forbidden rite of transmutation was practiced. To hunt the largest, most man-eating crocodile, to tear its flesh and consume it by the fire, was not a mere meal. It was an act of sacred cannibalism. By eating the apex predator, a warrior believed he was absorbing Sobek's invincible armor, his lightning speed, and his cold, calculating fury. It was a profound psychological truth. To survive in a world of monsters, you cannot simply pray to the river. You must swallow the river's fiercest demon and let his violent spirit run through your own veins. Taking flight at number 6, the golden heir, Horus, the falcon of the sky, the cosmic avenger and the living breath of the pharaohs. Imagine a bird of prey soaring so high it eclipses the sun. Its eyes are not mere biological lenses. They are the literal celestial bodies that illuminate the world. His right eye is the blazing sun of day, and his left is the pale guiding light of the moon. Horus is the unyielding symbol of rightful order fighting back against the anarchy of the wild. He is the son who refused to let his father's murder go unpunished. Raised in secret within the dense, humid papyrus thickets of the Delta marshes, he was trained by his mother Isis for one singular purpose: a world-shattering war against his uncle, the storm demon Set. This war was not fought in a single afternoon. It was an agonizing, bloody crusade that dragged on for decades, shaking the foundations of the earth. Horus is the brilliant military strategist, the tireless fighter whose falcon form dives upon the enemies of Ma'at like a spear of solid light. When a pharaoh sat upon the throne, striking down the enemies of Egypt, the people did not see a mortal man. They saw Horus, wearing human skin, physically maintaining the border between civilization and complete societal collapse. During his brutal clashes with Set, the unthinkable happened. Set managed to gouge out Horus's left eye, the moon, shattering it into pieces and plunging the night into total, terrifying darkness. Though Thoth later reassembled the eye, the scar remained. This healed eye, the Wadjet, became the most powerful talisman in human history. It is an eternal comfort to the broken. Horus is not a pristine, untouched god. He is a god who has been maimed, who has suffered devastating loss, and yet found a way to heal and rise even stronger. He teaches us that true divine power is not invulnerability. It is the absolute will to rebuild yourself from the bloody pieces of your past. At number 5, crafting the foundations of our world, we find Khnum, the divine potter, the architect of biology, and the master of the earthly clay. While the gods of the sky waged their wars with lightning and starlight, Khnum sat in the mud. Depicted as a powerful man with the curving, spiraling horns of a ram, he is the deity who was not afraid to get his hands dirty with the raw, wet earth. Deep within the subterranean caverns of Elephantine Island, echoing with the rhythmic, hypnotic spinning of his stone potter's wheel, Khnum performs the most intimate magic in the universe. He scoops the heavy, mineral-rich silt of the Nile and molds it. Every single human being who has ever breathed the air of this world was sculpted by his calloused hands. He does not use a mold. He treats every soul as a masterpiece. He shapes your cheekbones, the length of your limbs, your hidden talents, and your darkest flaws. At the same time, he spins a second figure, your Ka, the invisible spiritual twin that will power your heartbeat. The midwives of ancient Egypt would pray frantically to him as a mother screamed in labor, begging Khnum to ensure the clay did not crack as the child crossed into the waking world. But do not mistake this gentle artisan for a weakling. Khnum held the very economy of the empire in his earthen grip. He was the guardian of the river's source. He held the keys to the massive floodgates of the underworld abyss. The famine stela, etched into the rocks of Sahel Island, tells a horrifying tale of King Djoser's reign. For 7 long years, Khnum kept his gates shut. The Nile turned to dust. The crops withered to ash. Children's ribs poked through their skin, and the kingdom was brought to its knees in starvation. Only when the pharaoh offered immense wealth to his temple did the ram god finally turn the wheel, allowing the waters to bleed back into the desert. He is the ultimate reminder that earthly power and human life are utterly dependent on the one who controls the source of the water. Descending into the realm of the mind at number 4, we meet Thoth, the grand architect of thought, the master of magic, and the cosmic mathematician. Look up at the cold, silver light of the moon. It does not burn with the fury of the sun. It observes. It calculates. That is the essence of Thoth. Whether walking the earth with the curving beak of an ibis bird, pecking at the ground like a scribe's pen on parchment, or sitting as an imposing, hyper-intelligent baboon, Thoth is the mind of the universe. Before him, the cosmos was a swirling soup of confused, nameless energies. Thoth spoke, and his words became mathematics, geometry, language, and time. He invented the sacred hieroglyphs, realizing that if you can name a thing, you can completely control it. In the chaotic councils of the divine, when gods draw their weapons and the heavens threaten to split open, Thoth is the cold voice of logic that forces them to lower their blades. He tracks the phases of the moon, maintaining the strict calendar that tells the Nile when to flood and the wheat when to grow. Magic, or Hika, is not a mystical parlor trick in Egypt. It is a rigid, terrifying science of the spoken word, and Thoth is its grand master. But with absolute knowledge comes a shadow of immense danger. The ancient scrolls whisper of the legendary Book of Thoth, a forbidden grimoire penned by the god himself. It contained only 2 spells. The first allowed a mortal to command the sea, the mountains, and the beasts of the earth. The second allowed a human to look upon the raw, unfiltered, terrifying true forms of the gods themselves. The prince Neferkaptah sacrificed his family and his sanity to steal it from the bottom of the river, only to learn that mortal minds are paper cups trying to hold an ocean of fire. Thoth's vengeance upon him was absolute. He is the haunting lesson that knowledge is the sharpest blade in creation, capable of elevating a man to a god, or slicing his life to ribbons if he dares to reach beyond his grasp. Igniting the sky at number 3, the engine of the visible world, Ra, the burning sovereign of the day, whose very tears birthed humanity. What if the sun above you was not a giant ball of gas, but an ancient, weary warrior who must bleed and die every single day just to keep you warm? Ra is the ultimate, blinding force of biological energy. When the universe was frozen in the black ice of the primordial ocean, it was Ra who erupted from the lotus flower, bringing the first agonizing, beautiful heat to the void. He sails across the sky in his golden ships, the Manjet by day and the Mesektet by night, pushing the machinery of time forward. Yet, Ra holds a tragedy that no other supreme god possesses. He is bound by a biological vulnerability. At the crack of dawn, he is a vibrant golden child. By the blistering heat of noon, he is a towering muscular king in his prime. But as the shadows lengthen and the sky bleeds purple, Ra becomes a frail, stooped old man, trembling and weak. This degradation forces him to die. He must plunge into the horrifying depths of the Duat every night to regenerate his soul. If he loses his battle against Apep in the dark, the sun will never rise and the universe will instantly freeze. He is the only god who must physically fight for the right to rule the cosmos every 24 hours, and he is bound to us by a profound chemical sorrow. The myths say that when Ra looked upon the beauty and fragility of his creation, he wept. His golden tears struck the dust of the earth, and from that divine sorrow, humanity was born. We are the literal tears of the sun. But beneath his blinding armor, Ra hid a fatal weakness, his Ren, his true, secret name. It was the sonic frequency that kept his body intact. When the goddess Isis used his own saliva to create a venomous viper that bit him, he was tortured by a pain so excruciating he surrendered his hidden name to her. Ra eventually grew so exhausted by the rebellions and sins of his human children that he climbed upon the back of the celestial cow and abandoned the earth for the high heavens, leaving his fiery, independent eye to scorch the wicked in his wake. Sitting upon the throne of shadows at number 2, the Lord of Eternity, Osiris, the supreme judge, the murdered king who conquered the grave. If you lived in the ancient world, death was the great, terrifying black wall at the end of the road. But then came Osiris, the god who proved that the wall was actually a door. Before he was the sovereign of the underworld, he was a living, breathing king on earth. He took a primitive, savage humanity who lived like beasts in the mud, and with a gentle hand, he taught them the sweetness of music, the rigid laws of justice, and the miracle of planting seeds in the earth. He was loved so deeply that his brother Set went mad with jealousy. You know the horror story. Set tricked him, suffocated him in a lead-lined chest, and chopped his body into 14 bloody pieces, scattering them across the swamps of Egypt. It should have been the end. But through the agonizing grief and unmatched magic of his wife, Isis, and the embalming mastery of Anubis, the pieces were stitched back together. Yet Osiris did not walk back into the sunlight. He transcended. He stepped down into the dark and became the first being to conquer death, transforming himself into the absolute monarch of the afterlife. Picture him sitting in the dim, silent hall of two truths. His skin is not the color of rotting flesh, but a vibrant, deep green, the exact color of the first shoots of wheat breaking through the black mud after the flood. He is draped in tight, white linen bandages, holding the crook and flail of absolute authority. He does not speak. He merely watches as your heart is weighed. If you are found worthy, he grants you the keys to the field of reeds, a paradise of endless harvest. If you are lacking, you are cast to the devourer, Ammit, and your soul is erased from time. Osiris is the ultimate comfort to the human condition. He suffered betrayal, mutilation, and death, yet emerged as the most powerful judge in the cosmos. He is the eternal promise that no matter how dark the winter of your life has been, the green spring of your soul is inevitable. And finally, seated in the silent, formless void at number 1, the absolute pinnacle of existence, Amun, the hidden one, the uncaused cause of all reality. How do you fight a god you cannot see? How do you escape a force that resides within the very breath in your lungs? Ra is the light that warms your skin, but Amun is the invisible metaphysical law of physics that allows light to travel. He is the terrifying, awe-inspiring concept of the absolute. Before the universe had a shape, before time had a name, Amun existed in the chaotic waters of Nun. He did not need a mother or a father. He willed himself into existence with a singular, deafening cry, the call of the great cackler, a sonic boom that sent the first ripples of vibration through the dead void, forcing matter to awaken. Amun is not bound to a river, a sun, or a tomb. He is the invisible, divine gravity that keeps the stars from crashing into the earth. The priests of Thebes whispered that his true body was made of pure, divine lapis lazuli, but it vibrated at a frequency completely imperceptible to mortal eyes. He is the one who becomes millions. Every other god, every star, every human being is merely a tiny, fragmented extension of his singular will. During the height of the New Kingdom, he was not just a myth. He was the invisible political engine of the empire. Pharaohs conquered nations not by their own strength, but because the silent whisper of Amun guided their chariots. To speak his true, secret name was forbidden, for it was believed that the mere sound of it would unravel the mathematical fabric of the universe and disintegrate reality instantly. Instead, he was honored through titles. He is the wind blowing across the desert at midnight. He is the black light of the cosmos, the energy that can only be seen by a soul that has shed its physical body. His priests would stand in pitch-black sanctuaries, humming at deep, resonant frequencies, trying to align their minds with the imperceptible vibration of his presence. Amun cannot be destroyed. He cannot be killed. And he cannot be forgotten, because as long as there is empty space and the breath of life, he is there. He is the beginning, the middle, and the infinite end. The fire burns low, and the waters of the Nile slip away into the dark. Egypt is eternal, but these myths are only the first grains of sand in a vast desert of secrets. If you survive this journey into the ancient dark, leave your mark. Press the like button and subscribe to ensure your name is written in the stars. But before you return to the waking world, tell me, which of these divine forces resonates with the deepest part of your soul? Which God is your personal favorite?